Hello everyone, this video will cover Module 4. Module 4 is where you will turn in the final draft of your narrative essay. In the previous module, you started to plan your essay, you told me your topic, you were thinking about what you would do for your thesis and outline, so you got a little workshop with your peers for that. Now you're actually going to write the essay. Anytime we have an essay in the class, you'll notice that the entire week is just devoted to finishing the essay. So you're expected to do it in stages. I always recommend, as soon as that module starts, or even before then, start writing the essay. Just get a first draft done. It doesn't matter if it's any good. You're just writing out some ideas, getting it in paragraphs, that kind of thing. Save it as a file, and then open up a new file and copy and paste to the new file and save as a second draft, and make it better. So you're making sure that you cover the criteria and that you've got all the parts in there that you need, and then making sure that you're starting to correct some of those issues in your writing. You may read it out loud to start finding some of those errors, and then as a final draft, copy and paste into a new file, save it as your final draft, and then do like the last polishing, editing, that kind of thing as part of the process. The reason to save it as separate files is so that we can see the writing process, but it also is protection for you. Anytime you do any kind of major writing assignment, you want to make sure that you're protecting yourself from accusations of use of AI, issues that might come up with for authenticity of writing, that kind of thing. If you have tracked your progress, then you should be able to prove, yes, this is my writing, this is how it's changed throughout the different drafts that I have written. So that's just my recommendation. That would take you the whole week. I recommend, giving yourself a few days between each draft. That way you have time to just let it sit for a little bit, and then you have when you go back to look at it, it'll look a little bit fresher for you, and you'll find more of your errors that way. A couple of other things that you can do. You can, for this essay, we're not doing a peer edit. So if you want some peer feedback, I recommend reaching out to family or friends who like to look over things. And definitely that's perfectly fine, but I would recommend when they do look over your essay to do some kind of, use the review tool. Don't make changes to your essay, to the actual wording of your essay, because that can get you in trouble with plagiarism as well, or academic dishonesty. So make sure that they're just giving you suggestions. And then the other option, or you can also send it to me, and I'll do that as well. I usually just give students a list of things to work on, and it's not cheating to email me a draft ahead of time. Just, and then the other option is to use the online writing lab, and that is through BrainFuse. Over here on the side, you'll see BrainFuse online tutoring, and I've got this page here that kind of goes over it as well. When you click on it, you'll get to this page here, and you just go to submit paper, and then select the type of paper that you're doing. So in this case, a personal narrative, and then you can copy paste these instructions, tell them that you're doing MLA 9th edition style, and then if you have any areas of concern, you can add those, and then you browse and upload your file. They do have specific file formats that they prefer. PDF is not editable, so they'll only be able to give you like general comments. It's much better to send in a doc form. That way they can actually give you like specific inline comments for things to change. The only disadvantage of using that writing lab is that they do have just a limited time to respond. So you would have to have a draft of your essay done like midweek to be able to send it to them in order to get feedback. Otherwise, they're not going to have time to do that. And I don't think that they will respond to essays over the weekend. So just keep that in mind. So when you're done, once you've gone through the whole essay, you make sure that you have everything, that you've met the criteria. Don't forget to check the criteria. A lot of students will forget that step, or they just never look at it. The criteria is very specific for what kind of essay you're doing, but also what should be included. So making sure that you have a personal event that's specific, it occurs within a day or less. That's often an issue for students. It's just way too broad. There's not enough of a focus, and that you're actually telling the story of what happened happens beginning to end, and trying to you use that vivid description, using dialogue of what people said, anything that it could be. It's like you have to feel like you're reading a story when you read this essay. So it's not a traditional essay like you may have done in another class where you know 3 main points and that kind of thing. This is more of telling the story, so you can get a little creative with this one. And then implied thesis or a thesis at the end of the introduction, depending on which you prefer. An implied thesis is typically in the conclusion, where you discuss like why was this event significant, how did you change from it, that kind of thing. And then make sure that you are using first person point of view and that you have met the page length requirement. So that's just simple things that you can do to make sure that you are getting the best possible grade on the assignment. Formatting requirements here, you want to make sure that you're using MLA style. Make sure, please, double space. It's so hard to leave comments when students don't double space. And then 12-point Times New Roman font is the ideal font. So that's just something to think about. And then this is an AI level 1 essay. In the future, you may be able to allow, you may be allowed to use more in some of your assignments. But for this one, you're basically limited to Grammarly, that kind of thing. So any type of AI powered program that just checks for spelling errors, punctuation errors, misuse of words, that kind of thing, that's perfectly acceptable. Anything beyond that, so any program that's changing how the words are put together in the sentence, you do not want to accept those changes, because that is a computer created sentence at that point, and that can result in some major issues down the road. So you just need to be aware of, don't accept every change that Grammarly suggests. Is what I wanted to say there. So if it's a punctuation error, if it's a spelling error, if it's a misused word, that's fine. Anything beyond that, don't accept. And so then I've got an AI level for your rubric. So if your essay sounds like an AI paper, then you're going to score about here, which is going to give you about half credit on the assignment, and that's it. So if you haven't saved as multiple drafts, if you're not using a Google Doc that tracks your typing, there's no way to prove that it's not AI. That if it sounds AI, you're going to be scoring right here. You need to type better. Your wording needs to be better than what a computer can generate, is where we're going there. Last thing that you're going to do, once you're done with your essay, then you're going to do a post-writing assignment. Most students will do the paragraph reflection because it's the option that, although requires more writing, is one that they can typically fit a little better into what they're doing. The other option is to do an audio reflection. And audio reflection is where you would just record yourself talking about your essay, preferably a video, although I have had some students just record their voice, and that's fine too. And basically it's just you talking about your essay, and it's kind of fun. I really enjoy watching them because you can just kind of talk about your essay and what you're proud of and that kind of thing. And so those of you who like to do more of, or would prefer not to have to write something, that would be a great option. And then the other option is a Zoom conference, where you just make a conference with me, and you can use my Calendly link, or you can just email me, and we'll just set up a time for you, and we'll just talk about your essay, how you felt you did, and then any other questions about the class. So a lot of times when students are struggling like mid-semester, they'll choose this option because we can talk about other things too. Anything that's bothering you, anything you need help with, we can definitely discuss. So that's every essay will have a post-writing assignment, and that is just to help that we're closing the circle. We do that whole cycle of planning, writing, rewriting. Now we're closing the circle, and we're reflecting on what we did. So that's the purpose of this assignment, and you'll see this in the future as well. If you have questions as you write your essay, be sure to let me know. Otherwise, have a great week.